everyone, and thank you for taking your time today to attend our Infor A Software Update webinar. My name is Brittany Herman. I'm a marketing specialist here at Aktion Associates, and I'll be moderating today's event. This webinar is designed to give you the latest information regarding Infor A updates, trends, and ISV integrations. We want you to use this opportunity to ask questions, so please feel free to use the Q&A feature during this event, and we will have time to answer them towards the end. All attendee audio is muted to provide the best user experience possible, so you will need to use the Q&A feature to ask a question. Lastly, this webinar is being recorded and a link will be sent to you shortly after the webinar ends. Before we jump into our topic, I want to give you a little bit more information on who Aktion is. We are more than 220 employees with more than 6,500 customers. We are a national ERP software reseller and IT infrastructure provider focused on architectural engineering, construction, real estate, distribution, and manufacturing industries. We have 2 company data centers, one located here in headquarters at Toledo, Ohio, and the other in Charlotte, North Carolina. Aktion is 16 on the top 100 VARs list, along with being a top workplace in 2022. And in the top right-hand corner, you can see some other recognitions we have acquired. Now, today we will be focusing on our supply chain division. Our Infor software solutions are Infor Cloud Suite Distribution, Infor Distribution SX Enterprise, Infor Distribution Fax, Infor Distribution A+. Today we'll be focusing on A+, and we'll be talking about some of our ISV applications such as Avalara and Focus. In the top right-hand corner, you can see that we are a gold channel partner with Infor, and we have been this partner for over 20 years. Now, let me introduce you to today's presenter, Phil Mayer. Phil is Aktion's lead practice manager in our Heritage Products. Phil, it's great to see you, and I'll turn it over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Brittany. Hello, everyone. I'm Phil Mayer, the lead practice manager here at Aktion Associates for Heritage Products that include Fax, Storefront, and A+. I've been around ERP and Infor for over 25 years, and I joined Aktion through the acquisition of my company, MCS, in January of 2019. Here are some new personnel developments here at Aktion. Many of the names are familiar. Some may be new to you. Pat Brennan was promoted in January of 2022 to lead the Aktion supply chain unit. It's Aktion's largest business unit. Dan Parnell, who you probably all worked with over the years, has retired on January 31st. Dan was with MCS and then Aktion for over 24 years. Also, Maureen George has also retired after a similar 22-year run. Maureen retired after a 3-week trip to Hawaii in February, and we really thank them both for their service and miss them dearly. We did hire Megan Erlenbach last month. You may remember her as someone who's worked on the A+ hotline for over 18 years, so welcome, Megan. The good news for everyone on this call is that the leadership within the Aktion supply chain unit is very well versed in the A+ product. Here's the agenda for today. Brittany updated you a little bit about Aktion. We're going to have a slide that's going to talk about what's new for the A+ customers. We're going to spend a lot of time on the Infor Compass program, which you may or may not have heard about. I'll talk about Aktion's customer choice program. Then I'll share with you the A+ product update, including a roadmap. We're going to talk about some third-party solutions that Brittany brought up that can extend the A+ ecosystem. And we're going to highlight a couple of the solutions, including business intelligence or data mining. I have an IBM update. I have a little bit more on a third-party survey that I've conducted in the past. I'd like to just get everyone's feedback on that a little bit. Then we'll talk about mapping your go-forward strategy. And then, as Brittany said, we'll have time at the end for questions. I think I'm going to speak for about 30 minutes. Going through these slides, and then so queue up those questions. I'm happy to answer them at the end. I'm going to come off camera, but I'd like to say just before we start that if you pick one webinar to attend, I think this is the good one, because as you can see, chock full of a lot of topics. It'll be 3 to 4 slides each topic, and then on to the next one. And it really is going to give you a rounded information that you can go back to management with, or share the deck with someone in the future to say, hey, what's going on with A+? What are we doing? This will at least get you started in the conversation, and I'm happy to join any of those conversations if you need me to. So I'm going to come off camera, and I'll go to the next slide. So what's new? I'm a Catholic, so I kind of call this the sermon part, where I get to freeform a little bit. Infor Compass program is having positive effects on the A+ customers. Development staff has grown. So what is Compass? Compass is a $1 billion business unit within Infor, and we're starting to see positive changes. They're doubling the A+ development staff. There are discussions with the product manager about new enhancements, new features. I'm on a lot of calls asking, well, what are the customers looking for? Can we get that into, and channeling that to Brian Bonneau and development. There's a real commitment from Infor to keep A+ going. Even Marie Baker is back on the support line. And I think as an A+ customer, you should be encouraged by these positive developments, and with the others I plan to share later in the presentation. Compass is not just A+. In fact, it includes, other heritage or products such as Mapix, BPix, Visual, Lawson. They're all bundled in. Infor said, hey, these are all really good products. We want to treat them a little differently than our Cloud Suite products. So they pushed them into an area called Compass. So number two, customers are innovating within A+ and adding new functionalities such as AP automation, 3PLs. Our services work around third-party integration remains very high. Customers are solving business problems, and we're integrating those solutions into A+. I'm going to talk more about these third-party solutions later in the presentation. And I'm really very intrigued by AP automation, because in the last 12 months, I've been contacted by a number of customers looking for this functionality. I really don't have an answer, but I plan to make Infor aware of this growing need, as well as add it to my next third-party survey. Customers are moving to a hosted A+ environment, finally, at a faster pace, as Infor updated some of their pricing to make it attractive. I've seen the uptick moving even their I-Series to a hosted environment. And I support this, and I think it's a great idea. The back end, of the I-Series server is really a commodity. And this is exactly what should be moved to the cloud and managed by somebody else. Talking to the customers, I've already done this. Most are very happy with it, and some have some pretty good stories to tell about how that has saved them from power outages, hurricanes, natural disasters that maybe happened in their communities. Also, for the larger customers, I encourage you to consider HADR. If you have more than 50 users, pricing on this technology has really come down quite a bit. And I really think you need to, take the business owners and say, hey, look, if we're down for, 2 to 3 days because of some sort of a disaster, what's that going to cost the business? And I think it's worth looking at. It involves a second server, in another location, but any disruption to the primary location, the backup server takes over. You can also do it if you're going to do an upgrade. I have customers that want to upgrade their operating system, and they'll flip the switch and run off the backup machine, do the operating system, do some testing, and then switch the workload right back on. Finally, the attrition rate off of A+ remains very low. Several customers, I was in Infor's headquarters in late November, met with the Compass executives to talk about what's going on with A+. Infor Compass team provided a very powerful message for them, and they said, all right, we're not going to go out on a software search right now. We're going to continue to stay with A+. The business isn't really ready for that disruption, so they decided to stay with A+. So Infor is very committed and happy to get in front of executives that would like to hear that message direct from Infor on site, or you can come into where I am here in New York and meet us at Infor headquarters and have those conversations. So our practice here at Aktion is expanding. We do have some retirements, but our service business remains really strong. Just this year, we added, I know we lost Dan and Maureen, but we did add 2 technical people to our staff. So we're always looking, and hopefully your business is also looking for people. So next few slides will be on Compass. The Infor strategic direction changed as of January 1st, 2022. They introduced a new division called Compass to service the needs of these mature ERPs that I spoke about earlier: A+, Mapix, BPix, Lawson, SX, just the traditional on-prem, what I call Infor's bread and butter products, where they have a large customer base. And many of these acquisitions were made. Daily was bought in 2004. It was all on-prem software. The base is still, 95% on-prem. So, so it's, that's what they did. And what's interesting about the Compass, and, you look at Mapix and BPix, and, those are very big pieces of Infor's program. And one of the reasons that Coke bought them is because they run some of those applications in their manufacturing facilities. So talking about Coke, who is Coke? 4 years ago, Coke purchased Infor. Coke is a $130 billion privately held multinational conglomerate with many companies. They own Georgia Pacific, a lot of discrete industries, chemical companies, paper companies. They own a lot of companies. And in there, what they found out was they were running a lot of Infor software solutions, and they decided to purchase Infor, and they did for $5 billion. So as you can read the slide, what Infor was doing prior to the acquisition of Coke was Infor was trying to go public. So with Charles Phillips at the helm from around 2012 to around 2018, 19, they were trying to go public. And there was a lot of, things that they had to do to go public. But one of the things that was really important to them was to get the most amount of money to go public. For the last 6 years prior to Coke buying them, they were aggressively trying to move everyone to the cloud. And the reason for that is that a cloud-based subscription is 9 times more valuable. So if you have a company, a cloud subscription that's worth $100,000, that's worth close to $1 million to someone who's buying it. If I have a customer paying maintenance of $100,000, that's only worth $300,000. So to go public, what they were really trying to do was to accelerate people to the cloud. So Infor, Coke is a private company, and they really have a different agenda when they created Compass. And they did it to stabilize their install base. They wanted customers to make sure they know they can stay on these products as long as they want. It was a really big change and a real benefit for those on the call. Coke was able to say, hey, no urgency to get there. We value this $1 billion of recurring revenue that we're getting from you paying maintenance. Frankly, I'm going to be very blunt about it. I know everyone on this call pays Infor maintenance, but when you add it all up, it's $1 billion. It's extremely profitable to Infor. Coke recognized that in one of the books that Charles Coke wrote. He realized that good customers and A+ generates good profits for them. And it's not good business to force people to move to a cloud-based ERP. Infor and Aktion want you to, we want it to be your choice when you're ready to move to the cloud. And I'd just like to comment, it was Infor's direct sales force that were encouraging their customers. There was rhetoric around tug events where, oh no, it's a dead product. And it was a pretty bleak number of years until the Compass program came out. And Infor said, no, we're reversing course. That is not our intent. We want, and you'll see some more slides on this. So this gives A+ customers a more prescriptive path, as Infor calls it, to extend the benefit of the ERP that you're running today. They realize that people are pretty happy with their software. They'd like to continue to use it for some time. All the employees know how to use it. So they're basically taking, a step back and saying, hey, you can stay on this product as long as you want. I think if you've entered the market for ERP or get an email from a competitor, NetSuite, Epicor, that's a dead product. Well, if they tell you that, they're not telling you the truth. And that should be something that maybe your radar goes up, because this is not a dead product. This is a product that has a roadmap I'm going to share with you shortly. You can get a Coke I've met with Coke executives. You can get an Infor executive to tell you directly that this is not a dead product. It's a go-forward product. So I'm very excited about that. So what Compass means to our customers is you can remain on A+, remain in your current environment. And we'd like to talk about that. If you're ready to move, if there's a reason to move, we think we have the best solutions. We have Cloud Suite applications that we've migrated customers to. So we're going to talk a little bit about those as well. So these choices, or these are the types of questions I get from my customers about what their next options might be. If you're going to migrate, these bullets are some of the items to think about. It's much easier to move a specific module or a function to the cloud, versus the entire ERP. You might think about maybe moving an application, maybe a printing application or an e-commerce, to a cloud-based solution or to a hosted data center like Aktion has. But it's important as you go down some of these paths, like who's going to own the data, if you move it to the cloud. That's definitely one of the things you need to think about. So really then two options come down as it relates to the ERP. Do I stay with A+ or do I go to something else? Well, why reactivate or really why would you stay with A+? It's working. You're content with the product. You can upgrade it. You can host it. Again, that's moving it to the cloud. You preserve the knowledge capital. We don't make sure customers don't underestimate the value of employees knowing, deeply how to run the business with the systems in place. Infor realized over the past 5 years that companies don't want to change the software as fast as the publishers want, and they're taking their foot off the pedal. And we have products that can fill the gaps. I'm not saying that A+ can solve all your problems, but we see Infor customers adding modules like WMS, the PIM, CRM, and I'm going to talk about a few of those later in the presentation. But if it's a software is meeting 90% of the business, you're within a few releases of current, and I'll show you that schedule a little bit. Infor is allowing you to add users and modules. There was a time that they kind of said, oh no, you can't add a module. That's all changed now. You want to buy a module, you buy it. You want to add users, you buy it. You do it. Extend the functionality to other divisions. Again, talk about moving the workload to the cloud. That's something I'd like to just continue to talk about. So that's staying with A+. Well, why would you migrate? Maybe a significant portion of A+ is not working for your business. Maybe you were doing many workarounds. For example, maybe you were doing more manufacturing. Now you're doing more manufacturing, or perhaps, you have a unique service business that's rapidly growing. And maybe you've stretched the limits of evaluated services, or maybe you needed 3PL support. Conceivably also, maybe there's a new change of ownership and they have a 20-year run, and they're saying, gee, we'd really like to modernize, and they go out on the market and, they have greater than a 5-year horizon and they want a more modern solution. At times I see with people lose key staff members who knew it really well, and they kind of get scared. Maybe I need to worry about something or to do a change. We're here to back you up. I tell my customers, if someone wins the lottery tomorrow, I have 20 people that can step in and do the job to continue to support that account. So Infor and Aktion really have some terrific options. Should you go down this path of migrating, we have terrific options that allow you to purchase what we would call a next generation software like CSD, Cloud Suite Distribution, and then plan for that transition over the next 2 to 4 years. And it's kind of unique. No one can really offer you that. You're buying a new license, but that license covers both A+ and your new ERP. If you went out and bought NetSuite or something else, you'd be making 2 payments over the course of that implementation period, which can be 1 to 2 to 3 years. All that said, I want to remind you that Aktion will be here to support Infor A+ as long as our customers find benefit in using the application. This is a direct statement from our CEO, Scott Irwin. That, he's bought up a lot of companies, a lot of 6,500 customers. He's got people in place. He wants to support these applications as long as people want to run them. Very profitable for Aktion. A+ is one of the three Infor products that Aktion represents. And it's providing a significant revenue stream to Aktion. And so we're paying very close attention to our great, just over 150 A+ customers. We do these upgrades. In fact, we just did an upgrade for a customer who was on version 4.0. That's circa like 1994 code. So it's really never too late. Okay, so now we're going to look at some of the new features of A+. Before I do that, though, I'd like to just say that, mention only customers who are on Infor maintenance are entitled to these upgrades. So why have an active maintenance agreement with Infor? You're going to get better support. Customers that have Infor active maintenance agreements get faster, more accurate support. Why? Because we can access on your behalf Infor's internal systems and scan for answers to the most complex questions. You can get keys is really the most important thing. So if you decide to get a new server or move some of your workload to the cloud, you're going to need a new security key. Only customers on maintenance can get those keys. Finally, they patch all the security vulnerabilities and keep the software compliant. Example, Log4j, December of 21, that came through. I know all the storefront servers were patched, and they took care of that. And that's a big priority for Infor right now is compliance. Speaking to Nadia Nadim, the A+ product manager, security is a big focus for Infor. And that's where they're putting a lot of the development efforts. If you look at Brian Bonneau, they're fixing up a lot of security, perhaps vulnerabilities that exist within A+. So that's why you want to be on an Infor maintenance contract. Talked about the customer on version 4.0. My slide didn't go back that far, but here's the development history of A+. We recently, like I said, we did that customer for 4.0. We have another customer at 3.02. But I think I'm looking at this slide, hadn't had a chance to update lower right-hand corner of this slide in quite some time, as you can see, from 20 to 23, almost 3 years. But here it is on April 30th, just 4 days ago. I got version 10.03.02 delivered. So I did push them because I had this event coming up, but they were they were committed to this date even before. They said, Phil, no, it's going out. And if you know the Infor A+ development team, when they say it's going out, it goes out. Very simple. So the product manager also shared with me the product roadmap. Brittany will talk a little bit later about how you can get these decks right off of this presentation just at the end, so hang with us. But here's the actual roadmap from Infor. I just got this on Monday. So you look back a little bit here, you can see 10.03, there was the version that came out in September 2020, and then here we are in Q2 fiscal year 23. There'll be another one in the fall, 10.03.03. I think Infor will provide some guidance. I didn't get any update to what's going to be in these new versions, but I'm sure that could be forthcoming. So then we go a year from today, we're likely to have version 11. They're calling it a major release. Version 11 looks like it's going to be Q1 fiscal 20, so about a year from now. And then later that year in Q3, you're going to get a what they call a service release. Those of you that work with it, with the upgrades, know what that is. And then we're going to go out to 2025, and you're going to get 11.02. And then later in that year, you'll get 11.03. What's interesting, I'll just make this comment, around 2015, 16, 17, they put the brakes on the development. I don't want to say the development, I'd say the release of code. They put some rules in place and they said, well, we can't really, A+ can't outpace CSD. So whatever in CSD, can't release anything in A+ that CSD doesn't have. So a lot of the stuff was developed, but kind of put on hold. So we're talking to Brian Bonneau recently, a lot of what he's going to be doing in these releases is just dusting off code that was actually done and ready to go. It's kind of exciting. I know some of it, I can't talk about it, but some of the things that they've done, I knew about them back then, and I was disappointed that they were all put on hold, but I think we're going to start to see that all get dripped out over the next, few years. So I just highlighted a few things that I picked up from the release, pre-release notes that I did get a copy of. But the thing to note is that this release contained 180 fixes, plus a few enhancements, my deck is only on the enhancements. It's 4 slides. You'll look at these, and they are minor enhancements. I'll give you that. But 180 fixes was quite a bit. So again, just getting back to how Infor and Daily works. I mean, it's just a terrific product, as we all know, and the thoroughness of which they do work and development is just outstanding. Talk a little bit about accounts receivable. So there was a little bit of something for each of the modules. And again, these aren't game-changing enhancements, but they were just little things that maybe makes the software a little bit better for a user. Maybe they had some comments come in from people and they were able to add them. So in the next few weeks, you'll probably see more information on this. You can reach out to your Aktion account executive. If you're an Infor direct customer, call your Infor rep. One of the things that 10.03 did was connected Infor A Plus to Infor OS. And the intent was to allow A Plus through Infor OS to connect to other Infor applications. And I think that Infor will pick this back up. This was kind of announced and then it just kind of died for reasons that I had already covered. But I think they're gonna kind of pick this up and let Infor OS connected to A Plus and now allow you to connect to other programs, perhaps like Infor WMS or obviously I know it was connected to Infor CRM. I know that was already done. I know Rhythm might be something. So I think there's more to come on Infor OS. And what's very interesting is that Infor OS is bedrock solid in CSD. So CSD runs within Infor OS. So getting familiar with this technology on A Plus will help you migrate when you're ready to CSD. It'll definitely lessen the learning curve. And if you've built out connections from A Plus within Infor OS, those will just port right over to CSD when you're ready. See, doing time, okay. So this is how I see A Plus. I see it as the hub, and I see customers connecting things to it. Things like CRM, EDI, analytics, data mining, warehouse management. I look at A Plus as what I always tell my customers. It's the transaction processor. It processes transactions. It's not always pretty. It's the pickup truck. But a lot of the customers develop technologies around A Plus, and I think that's going to continue. We're going to talk about a couple of those right now. So one of those solutions is a BI tool called Focus. Aktion partnered with Focus several years ago in another division, our construction division. So we've had good success with this product for at least 5 years. And what we recently did was connected Focus to A Plus. And I really have to say the results are impressive. Those of you that have been on A Plus, this has been a bit of a void for A Plus clients for a long time. I know we sold CoreView years ago, but that was a complex product on-prem, couldn't get support. I still have a few customers using it, but we really never got behind a really good BI tool, but now we do. And thanks to my third-party survey, which some of you may have participated in, I know at least 3 A Plus customers that are using this tool, and I did check with them a few months back, and they were all very happy with it. And these are some large A Plus customers, over $100 million, a few of them, some under, and they're very happy with the solution. So, and they bought it on their own and stood it up, and they're technical, but we want to make that easier for you, that if you're interested in this solution, you can buy it from us. We have a connector for it, and you'd be off and running in a very short period of time. I'm going to take a time here to show you a few of the screens. And if you look at this slide here, it's a big company, 300 employees, 1,200 customers, 100 Infor customers. We're adding this. This is our business reporting for CSD, for A+, for Fax, and for SXE. So we're developing talent internal at Aktion around this tool set, and we expect to deploy this tool set to not only our construction clients, but our supply chain unit. We have another multi-industry unit, and we have a Deltec unit. So this is going to become the standard BI tool for all of Aktion. So, and I'll admit it's been hard to get data out of A+. Well, that's really why we connected A+ to this tool. It was always good at collecting data, but now we can sort it. Now you can sort it, arrange it, present it, and visually tell a story. and this is really long overdue. This tool provides the visual representation of a dashboard, analytics, and database flexibility. It's really a great set of tools, and I'm going to show you a few screens that we've done recently. I forgot. I did want to mention that this tool not only pulls data from A+, but it can pull data from other sources such as Microsoft Access, Excel, CRM, a progress database, a SQL database. So it's really don't just look at it as an A+ reporting. I know you'll probably pull most of your data out, but if there's another database that you want to merge with A+ at the same time, you can do that. So this slide and the next few are just some examples of what this tool can look like. This is a pretty simple cache screen, but again, look at the representation of the data. I just think it's just terrific. I know this information is available in A+, definitely not as attractive. And really, the thing I like about these BI tools, nothing better than empowering a customer. When I called the one customer, I called the new IT director and said, hey, do you know much about Focus? You have it. No, I don't know. Yeah, my users love it. I don't even know anything about it. So that's good. So to me, that was like, hey, this thing's running pretty good for our customers. Just a little listing of all the different alerts that you can get in databases and dashboards. It's behind the scenes. This is behind the scenes stuff, but it's easy to read and understand it. Lots of dashboards, sales reporting, purchasing, inventory, accounting. There's actually a general ledger add-on module to this that will kind of be our phase 2 integration. We've always used F9, which has been a good tool set. Maybe you're looking for a light version. That's kind of what we're going to be introducing here. So we're doing pretty good here on time, but just keep going a little bit. So I would like to talk about HR. This has been an area of something that, got to really think about it. It's definitely good for failures, but it's also good for maintenance. This is technology where you have one iSeries in one location, you put it in another location, and all day long it replicates. So the minute an order gets written on one, it automatically mimics it. I call it mimics it, and moves it over to the other server. Pricing for this solution has come down. The way we deploy it is different. You might have a box in your location. You can replicate back to one of our servers, and then go back and forth. When the hurricane hit down in Fort Myers, we did have a customer who was backing up with us. Let me just say that. They were remotely backing up to us. It wasn't full mimics, what I'm talking about here, but they had a DR plan, and disaster struck when that hurricane hit Fort Myers, and their machine was wiped out. They called Aktion. We spun up. We had all their data. We had all their programs. They declared an emergency. We spun them up, and within about 9 hours, they had an environment that they could start to do business with. They ran on our platform for about 8 weeks till they got a new iSeries. And then when they went back on the new iSeries, we installed the new iSeries for them, and then we took the workload off of our cloud backup and we pushed it back down to their data center, and they were off and running. So this is a technology you need to pay attention to, because don't take the iSeries for granted. You definitely have to have some plans for disasters and the need for high availability. With that, IBM recently announced the Power 10. It was announced in September of 21. They originally announced it for the big machines, and then second half of last year, they announced it for the smaller machines that most of the A+ customers are on. Thing that I've heard from my sources, Fred Apollo, Charles Kaplan, Aura, has been the tremendous improvements in speed. And it's interesting, we look at these machines and we're just amazed at how fast that they run. And I love it when a customer says they went to run a report and they didn't think they ran it, and we're like, nope, it's already ran, see? And that's like a really good feeling for us when we get a chance to do that. Just a little, kind of like I did with A+, just like how far back does this go? I just saw that the IBM i AS400, now the iSeries, 35 years. I think it was 1988. So 35-year run of of just unbelievable. I know the roadmap goes out to 2038. And that'll keep going. Years ago it was 2025. Now it's 2038. It's $1 billion piece of business for IBM. They're not walking away from $1 billion either. But the Power 10 continues the history of releasing these powerful systems in the market. This self-explanatory slide is not intended to highlight the different capabilities introduced over the years. Instead, it just showcases IBM's sustained and consistent roadmap of technology advancements with power. They've really introduced a new generation of processor roughly every 3 to 4 years, with a plus model in between. And across each generational release, IBM has consistently maintained the lead in performance per core, reliability, security, and continuous innovation built from the core up. Those of you that are on this call can really be a testament to that you've been running the same software since 1990, since the 90s. You're on a piece of technology that that can run that software. Think about it. If you were running Fox Pro or DBase, that stuff can't even run on the PCs today. You would have had to change your ERP. You're just very fortunate base that, and that's the beauty of the iSeries and why, you see it in casinos and hotels and many big Costco. They just can't change it out. It's not pretty, but it's a pickup truck, and IBM recognizes that and it's taking advantage of that technology. But again, back to the high availability, I think it's important. Just finally, we have a non-A+ customer, auto parts customer, and I worked with them for 20 years. 50 million when they started. They're up over 2 billion now. They had about 50 users when I started. They're up to 7,000 users. They do 175,000 orders a day, 246 locations off of one single iSeries. It's mimicked and replicated to another one. They've invested in a machine that has cores in it, so when they need more processing, they just call up Aktion. We activate a core and they're good to go. They're hosted. It's just a great story. I talked to the CIO recently and he goes, hey, 20 years, been down 3 times for less than 2 hours. And so they have mimics. So they're able to do maintenance on their production machine. They want to upgrade it. They switch off to the backup machine, run over there, and then switch it back. Very powerful tool set for large companies that need 24/7. And the only time they ever touch their machines is Christmas Day, maybe 4th of July. Those are the holidays. And that's when, the people in the data center have to work. So we'll talk a little bit about hosting. We'll just talk a little bit more about it. Aktion hosting. So we have our own data center. We have 2 of them, one in Ohio, one in North Carolina, and we can host your A+ environment. And I just, we're the only company that can really, host, and manage both your IBM server and A+. So these are some of the tools that we use to do that work. We use Mimics, we use Vision, we use eVault, we use a company called Mindshift. We have a really well-rounded set of skills around hosting. And some of the benefits of hosting, it's always on, always available. You got better security because you got real professionals overseeing it. You can scale easy. Our customer, I told you how much they scaled. They put it in the hosting center and never looked back. They just worry about, hey, we did an acquisition. We're taking on 400 more users. We need another core. Okay, we edit. Things like that. We need an operating system upgrade. Okay, we take care of it. So you no longer have to buy and maintain it, and you get unlimited help desk. So finally, I'm almost done talking. I'll be open for questions. Hopefully, you've thought of a few things. Some of you may have already done the third-party survey that I conducted last year with a few years, about 18 months ago with Tug. We want to know, as we're always looking to stay current, what our customers are using and what their needs are. And so to do that, I created a survey, and I'm going to conduct that. And I will share the results of that with those businesses that participate. Looking to add more categories and, such as AP automation. It takes about 1 minute. It's just click, 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 click. You say, oh, what do you use for, what do you use for sales tax? Vertex, Avalara. Some of the categories don't have many choices. Some have a lot of choices, like CRM. There's like 7 choices. But you just click one little button. If it takes you more than a minute, something's wrong. And then I gather that data, and then I present it back in a webinar just like this. So I'm hoping to have the third-party survey done, in the next month or two. I'll push it out in, July, August, September. I get the results back, and then Brittany and I would like to do another webinar and share with you those results so you can see, hey, what are people using for e-commerce? What are people doing for freight management? What are people doing for CRM? And it's a good tool for me too, because what will happen is a customer says, hey, I have an interest in a PIM. What are customers using? And I go back and I look at, okay, PIM. These were the answers. So it's a really good thing. I like to own it, and it's been very useful for me for many years. So here's an example of a survey. This is when we do the survey. So in this case, it was just, I said, hey, what are you using for sales tax? So you can see here, domination by Avalara, of the 9 customers, 22 people skipped this, but 9 customers answered. So I had about 31 people take the survey. So you can clearly see. So if someone comes to me and says, hey, what should we use for sales tax? I'll go, well, here, you can follow these people, or you can, kind of go down a little bit different path. Okay, so 3 more slides, Brittany. So really, what are your next steps? We suggest that everyone upgrade to, Infor A Plus 3.02, 10.0302 release level, so you can be prepared for the future, to leverage any of the new changes and technologies that come up, including perhaps Infor OS. To take advantage of, there's been a lot of enhancements around the GUI section with LegaSuite. There's been some changes there that have been very positive. SendPAR's credit card compliance is always critical. You always want to be on the most current stuff. You can't let that stuff lag back too far. If you want to bite on Avalara's sales tax, we really want, that automation to be, on a cutting edge version of A plus. It would be hard for us to retro that back to some of those early, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I like customers that are agile, and to be agile, you really have to be kind of on the latest release. So definitely like you to think about trying to stay current with A plus. And you say, well, how do you do that, Phil? I would say follow these steps to get to the latest release. Allow us to perform what we call a software utilization assessment. Let us come in. I have another. We'll talk about it. How you utilize the software, and we make some recommendations. Perhaps during that process, we might say, gee, you really should have a CRM tool. You're trying to use notes within AR. You really need a CRM tool. Then we'll maybe introduce a CRM tool to you. And then we do it. We create a statement of work, and we give you an implementation plan, and the upgrades have been going good. We did at least 15 of these last year. They can take as short as a month. They can take as long as 3 months. It really depends how big you are and how complex your environment is. So going through a software utilization assessment with Aktion is really going to help you get the most out of your investment with Infor A plus. It's kind of like a house. Like, you got to take stock. You got to make some investment. A new house would be expensive, and you may not like the neighborhood. It's much less expensive and lower risk to enhance what you have. Many on the call, and when we look at the software utilization assessment, we review the features you have today. What we find when we do this, we send in a resource, do it remote, whatever needed, is customers find out, like, gee, I didn't even know I had that feature. So many of you were implemented so long ago. And everyone does their job the same. No one's really has time to explore maybe a new feature, a new function that came into the software. But when my people go out and sit with a customer in accounting or customer service, they're like, oh, look at this new command key. Oh, I didn't even know that existed. I was always going over here. So, and I think the software utilization, we review the features, we look at all the existing modules, we create a technology atmosphere for success. We talk about network infrastructure, make sure you have enough bandwidth. Hey, should we move any of this stuff to the cloud? Maybe we'll make a recommendation. And then we do integrations to make sure that, you're going to get the best return on your investment. We like to develop a 5-year roadmap for you. Those of you that are in IT or management, like to have a 5-year roadmap, we can produce that for you. And secure executive sponsorship is really important, that the executive team is behind this. One of the things that can come out of a software utilization too is it's it's almost like a mini RFP. Perhaps we do find things in there that where you don't, hey, you're doing a lot of manufacturing and value-added services, the wheels are falling off. That now at least you have the basis for maybe a software search for your next generation ERP. So let's see what we got here. Whew, okay, 45 minutes of talking.
All right. I know as Phil mentioned, there is an opportunity if you want any of the content from today or some of the extra resources we linked in. It is on your screen in the related content. Feel free to download or take a look at that if you're interested. And at this time, we will go into some of the questions that we have received. Let me just push them out to... All right, so it looks like we have a question on support of IBM I version 7.5 with A+. So which version of A+ is supported or certified for 7.5 or 7.5?
It's a good question, and one that I know that 7.4 has been certified. I will go to Brian Bonneau and try to get an answer to this question, but I don't have the answer to that, but that's a really good question, and I will get an answer for that.
Perfect. And we will let this person know and get back to you, so we have that answered later on after the webinar. Looks like we do have one other quick question here. Let me push it to the slide area. It's just asking, is Storefront still being enhanced like A+ is?
Okay, good question. The Infor A+ product is being managed by Nadia Nadeem. Nadia does not own the Storefront product. It's owned by a guy named Mike Mazzoni. Right now, he has that in like a holding pattern. He has not yet committed to, is he going to enhance it or not? So that product is more like in a holding pattern until he decides what to do with it. It's a terrific product. A lot of our customers still run the Storefront. It's very lightweight, really works well. But right now it's in more like a holding pattern. Infor has Rhythm, which is something that they would like customers to look at. You might hear more about that in the future, but right now I'd say Storefront is in holding pattern, not in an enhanced pattern.
Perfect. I think that is all of the questions we have. I'll go to our ending slide. I want to thank you all for attending our webinar today. I know this is a pretty important webinar for all of our customers. We are excited that Phil can talk to you. Phil, do you have any last words that you want to end with?
Nope. I think the people on the call can tell I'm pretty bullish on A+, the IBM business. I love running it. I love running it here at Aktion. Again, I see so many customers winning with the technology, and I'm very happy that Infor came out with the Compass program, and it was kind of like a plant. They're starting to water it, so it's going to grow. But that's about it, Brittany. Thank you.
Yep. I'll say thank you again for attending. And if you do have any further questions after the webinar that you would want to ask, feel free to reach out to Aktion, and we will be able to answer your questions. And I want to say have a great day to everyone.